with my finger here, with my nail. I want to hurt myself, yeah.
Watching Pep Guardiola self-harm live on TV on Tuesday night was the ultimate sign of a manager at his wits' end. The Spanish sorcerer left disturbing red scratch marks all over his head and face after his Man City team threw away a 3-0 home lead inside just 14 minutes to draw 3-0 with Feyenoord in the Champions League. And it really did demonstrate the epic scale of his side's recent decline, as City are now winless in 6, which is a rotten run never before seen since Pep walked through the door at the Etihad all those years ago. Even a few weeks ago, despite the constant cloud of the 115 alleged financial rule breaches being heard in central London, City were still not far from their customary relentless selves. But Saturday's 4-0 Etihad thumping by Spurs made it 5 straight defeats in a game that was supposed to be a big celebration of Pep signing his new 2-year deal. And Guardiola's admissions that his team are fragile and not stable, and joking that he wanted to hurt himself, which he's now apologised for, and his general bearing demonstrated just how much has gone so wrong so quickly for his side. But why? Why has it all gone wrong? And when, or more likely if, is it going to get better? Well, Sun Sport's chief sports reporter Martin Lipton has highlighted 5 areas of concern and exactly what City must do to fix them. The first one, no Rodri, no party. Now, the ovation City fans gave the Spanish midfielder as he raised his Ballon d'Or trophy before the Tottenham trauma told its very own story. But the reality is his absence has left a huge hole in the squad that nobody can fill on their own. Not Mateo Kovacic, who's currently injured, or John Stones, or Rico Lewis. Instead of a solid defensive screen, City are far too easy to play through at the moment, as Spurs, Bournemouth, Brighton, Sporting Lisbon and now Feyenoord have proved. Now, Guardiola has never been shy about his desire to reinvent football with possession and relentless attacking pressure, but perhaps, just in the short term at least, he needs to focus more on defensive stability and add a second holding midfielder in there to do a job of 2 men that Rodri was basically doing on his own. Now, number 2 is the injury crisis. Guardiola has not hidden how much he's been hurt by the injury plague that has spread through his squad even before the season kicked off. Oscar Bob had been earmarked for a key role this term, but he broke his leg in August and is out until at least February. Then came Rodri's season-ending cruciate injury against Arsenal. Kevin De Bruyne and Jack Grealish have made just 4 Premier League starts out of 12. Stones only 3 and Nathan Ake only 1. So with things already teetering on the edge, the calf injury that forced Ruben Dias off during City's Carabao Cup defeat at Tottenham last month felt really like the straw that broke the camel's back. Now, City have conceded 15 goals in their last 5 games, and Diaz is the linchpin of that defensive back line, so it's hardly rocket science to see why they look so leaky. Number 3, legs as well as heads have gone. Alan Hansen was famously wrong when he declared you don't win anything with kids, but maybe Pep's side are proving that the Premier League is also no country for old men. 6 of City's outfield squad are in their 30s, and it's starting to look that way with a few of their performances too. Timo Werner ran the legs off Kyle Walker to set up Tottenham's 4th at the weekend, and that was symbolic of 34-year-old Walker's all of a sudden physical limitations. His pace has always been his superpower, but these days the England man looks like he's running with a bag of sand on his shoulders most of the time. Many City fans celebrated Ilkay Gundogan's return in the summer after his unhappy year at Barcelona, but those cheers have quickly turned to groans. The German was walking in thick mud as James Maddison gave him the slip at the weekend, while Bernardo Silva has also been a pale imitation of his normal brilliant self. Now, Guardiola has driven his players relentlessly for 8 long years, and to be honest, a few of them now just look like they've run out of puff. City can no longer outplay and outrun sides, and it does not help that in the successive league games that they've lost were all against arguably 3 of the best footballing sides in the league. That fear factor has just vanished, and opponents are now seeing the vulnerabilities in the City team rather than being cowed by their impressive strengths. Number 4, the goal glut has gone. Ever since the arrival of Erling Haaland, City have been almost unstoppable. And look, the Norwegian has led the way in that, but he has not been alone. This season, Haaland's levels have gone off the boil ever so slightly compared to his usual extremely high level, and unfortunately, his teammates have been unable to fill that void. In their 12 matches in the league this season, City have scored 22 times, which is fewer goals than Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, and the same number as Brentford. But by contrast, at the same point this time last season, they scored 32, and the season before it was 33. So you can see they're miles off it on the goal scoring front. Now, Haaland's 12-goal return is only marginally down on previous campaigns when he had 14 at this stage 2 years ago and 13 last time round. But Phil Foden, whose 14 goals in the second half of last season well exceeded Haaland's tally, has yet to find the net at all in the league this year. And defender Josko Gvardiol, aside from all the defensive blunders he's making, is City's second highest scorer with just 3. Now, because of that, you have to wonder whether Guardiola regrets sanctioning the departures of Cole Palmer and Julian Alvarez. Palmer absolutely tearing it up at Chelsea and has scored 32 in 59 games for the Blues. That includes 7 in 14 this season, while Julian Alvarez's superb free kick at Sparta Prague this week was his 9th goal in 20 for Atletico Madrid. City did bag £124 million for the pair, but keeping them, as far as this season goes, looks like it would have been priceless. Number 5, they're being mentally monstered. Now, when it mattered, Guardiola's team always knew how to find a way, and it looked that way again this season when John Stones headed the injury time winner at Wolves last month. But now, a short time later, and it all feels so different. Now, we see a team that's starting to look for self-pity as soon as something goes against them, rather than kicking into that extra winning gear that they always seem to be able to find in the past. Those losses at Spurs in the Carabao Cup and then Bournemouth may have been a blip, but 3 more on top of that signals a full-scale crisis. The way City turned their toes up in the second half against Sporting was the first real sign of what Guardiola is now admitting is a frailty, and then Brighton scored twice in 5 minutes to turn the game on its head at the Amex, with City all of a sudden powerless to respond. Now, against Spurs, City just seemed mentally paralysed when James Maddison scored his first, and on Tuesday night, from 3 up and cruising against Feyenoord, it really was a remarkable implosion for any team, let alone Pep's Man City. And under that sort of pressure, a manager like Guardiola, or any manager, really needs his players to stand up and be counted. But at the moment, too many are folding and seem to feel incapable of affecting any real change. And on top of all of that, this weekend looms the biggest test of any season, even in normal circumstances, which is a trip to Anfield. City have not won at Liverpool since 2003, when Nicolas Anelka stole the points in the last minute, and another defeat would leave them 11 points adrift of Arne Slot's tabletop in Reds. Now, City know what to expect on and off the pitch, but for once, most fans are convinced that they will fall short.